We are. So you mentioned a bunch of stocks coming off. Macy's is one of them. They were up to around $20. They're back down to around $19. So my initial excitement of all these retailers being up on the day, it's kind of come back a little bit. But Landon, what are you seeing with your purchase intent mentions?
Yeah, so I thought we might have had the wrong day for this show. We always do earnings the day before, and when I saw Macy's go from 19 to 20 and back down again, I was curious if we had it wrong. But yeah, the big moves on this tariff news. But when we look at purchase intent data, and that is when people are talking about going into these stores or buying online from Macy's or Bloomingdale's or Blue Mercury, you see a trend here that's lower highs and lower lows throughout the last several years. And now, this is a stock that's in decline, a company that's been struggling. But what we're seeing right now is, it's kind of the off season, obviously, for a retailer. Christmas is huge, and so the middle of summer is not going to see big spikes. But where we would normally see a downtrend or a little bit of drift off like we have in previous years, we're actually seeing sort of a sideways upward type move. And I think that could be a surprise for Wall Street. I know that revenues are expected to decline both year over year and quarter over quarter, and we've got them up on both. And so this is not one of those stories where we think, everybody's shopping at Macy's and Wall Street doesn't know about it. We just think that maybe with the stock down this much, you can see it on that chart, up around 40, now it's down under 20. Maybe expectations are too low. This is sort of an oversold situation, which I always go into cautiously, but it's an opportunity for sure.
Landon, there's an old saying in trading, I like to buy things where I can see the ground. And
that's right.
Macy's was $17.40 back in October of 2017, and then got back up into the 40s from there. Now it's all the way back down to 19 and change. And I think what people don't realize about this company is they have a massive real estate portfolio, and they are not in risk of going out of business, I think, anytime soon. Their biggest problem is they're in this phase where they are closing stores, making themselves leaner, and gearing up for the long term. Now, still, the metrics of this market are not in their favor, but this is not a company, and this stock, let's face it, this stock is left for dead.
Yeah, it is. It's, like you said, from 40 down under 20, had a nice little bounce, but it sold it all back today. It went from 19 to 20, back down to 19, basically. But yeah, I think Wall Street has mostly given up on this stock, and I'm not saying we're going to see a huge bounce because we don't see a massive bump in purchase intent. What we're seeing is basically flat year over year, and maybe that could be a pleasant, surprise to Wall Street where it's just not dead yet kind of thing. But you're right, it's a huge company, and they have a lot of opportunity to turn things around, and they're trying a lot of things. They're pushing their Macy's Backstage, which is the discount brand. They've got this new, I think it's called Story, where they're changing the theme every quarter, trying to attract the younger crowd. And so they're trying things. They're trying to improve their mobile app. That they're not giving up, obviously. So this is just one of those, again, we do this a lot. It's a bit oversold. It's not a huge bullish signal, though.
Well, and Landon, I'll kind of present the other side of this then, too. When you're looking at a company like Macy's, been beat up significantly, obviously, over the last year and several years here, and you look at the backdrop and the overall macro picture, the U.S. consumer is still strong. Macy's still struggling. The trends moving to direct-to-consumer and e-commerce also not going to favor Macy's. Is this the time you want to step in? And likely, if you are stepping in now, you've probably already tried to step in a couple other times, and you maybe have that recent memory of getting burned on every attempt. It's not necessarily one that you're running too excited to jump into.
Exactly. This is a bit of a catch a falling knife kind of thing. And generally speaking, a good idea in trading is to find the trend that's moving the markets and then pick the big winner among that trend. This is not Macy's. They're in the wrong space, and they're not one of the leaders. So again, it's a very, very cautious oversold signal from us, but that's what it is. We see purchase intent basically flat, and we think that Wall Street could be expecting worse.
Just like to say, though, Macy's is in a better position than Nordstrom. Nordstrom had a rough year, and Macy's, at least, the earnings expectations are low, but they have gotten a price target estimates, which is $24. So if it goes up to $24, that's a 13% move after earnings. That's not bad.
And, this is one of those things where here's my view on it. I think Nordstrom is better positioned
because of Nordstrom Rack?
Yes.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because Nordstrom Rack, that discount chain, which is TJX, which is all these other discounters, Nordstrom has that covered. So I think Macy's really doesn't have that covered, or unless Macy's just turns into a discounter across the board itself, and that takes over its business model.
Which it might. I have to say, Macy's not the sexiest name on social media today, but our first tweet is from Jeff Mackey, of course, who says, new 52-week low for Macy's ahead of reporting this week. Retailers generally getting murdered. Did you guys know tariffs could impact margins? So very timely for today, because we had this tariff and trade news, and retailers obviously got a spike and now kind of have rebounded. I mean, there's so much exposure with these companies to China.
Right.
Obviously, that's what he's talking about here.
Right. I mean, can you imagine how much of Macy's product comes from China or somewhere over there? I mean, it's probably just a very large number. So, yeah. This multi-brand retailer, which what Macy's in, you walk into a Macy's store, it's several little stores within a Macy's. So I imagine they rely on that quite heavily.
Right. So our next tweet is from Jeremy Park, who says, interesting to see some retail names near highs of the day as overall market is near lows. This was obviously yesterday. Kohl's, Macy's, Nordstrom, Target, Gap, early signs of a turn or just a pause before lower. So this doesn't make as much, I pulled this tweet before we got this news. So this doesn't make as much sense today, obviously, but Landon, I don't know if you see it all. This could be a pause before they go even lower, even though they were up today now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, earnings is going to be a huge move for them, and I think it's really going to be very important on how they see what's important going forward. Kevin, you talked about Nordstrom Rack, and Macy's has that Macy's Backstage. They're working hard on getting their mobile app improved, and so I could see if Macy's Backstage has a big success and they're able to turn around their mobile app, we could see a situation where they become more of a discounter, just like Nordstrom Rack and that could be their space that makes them succeed. And so, they're in a tough climate right now, and they've got to kind of experiment and use their strengths and try to trim their weaknesses. And I think that's what they're doing. And again, like I said, purchase intent's flat, not extremely bullish on this company, but we don't think the end is now.
And by the way, for everyone viewing, almost an 8% dividend yield on Macy's. 7.78% dividend yield. So not a number to be scoffed at by any and in a world where we basically have a 1.68 on the 10-year.
Yeah, but the PE is 5.
Yeah. Both those, a 7% dividend yield and a 5 PE, make that attractive to me.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see too, a company looking to lean out, you wonder, is that dividend potentially down the road something that may be cut? I don't want to speculate on what may happen, but coming back to your data, because I think it is important to note, flattening to sort of an uptrend from its lows kind of ties into this tweet. Is it an early sign of a turn? Is it just a pause before a lower? Either way, looking at this earnings announcement, there could be a chance for a pop. That being said, seeing it pop and give up the gains so quickly on this tariff news isn't going to be a great sign of what may be to come either.
Right, yeah, they had basically a 5% swing today up and down, and I think they've got a 10% expected move on earnings. So it just shows you how important the China talks are to this company. Obviously, we want to see not just a flat purchase intent, but we want to see increasing purchase intent. We want to see a good Christmas out of them, but right now, with the data that we've got, again, very cautiously bullish with a purely oversold signal. If this stock was at 30, I wouldn't be talking at all bullish about Macy's, but at 19, I kind of like it.